What's up guys, Diego Sultan here, this is Listener's Notes. Today we're going to be talking about the new album from the band The XX, and this one is called I See You. The XX is an indie pop group out of the UK. They definitely made some buzz earlier this decade with their releases. They're a band that has gotten a lot of acclaim from fans. They've built a pretty strong fan base and a good following. It was for their style. People enjoyed this very whispery, very quiet balladry, and that's sort of what they play at in this album. But to put into context what we have here, one of the members of the band, Jamie XX, who does a lot of the production and drumming and whatnot, he had a solo album last year which was a lot more punchier than this. It wasn't necessarily like bangers, but it definitely had more texture and more punch to it, and I think you sort of see that clash with the balladry in a good way. For those of you who know a lot about me and my musical taste, sometimes things can be a little too quiet for me to where I'm not interested, and I know that's something that a lot of people might not agree with or might not like, and that's fine. That's just my own taste. For me personally, as much personality as Frank Ocean's Blonde had, it just was slightly too quiet. If it had just a little bit more, instrumental oomph to it, I would have loved that album. But this album from the XX, although it may not have the personality that Frank Ocean has, it has that oomph that I'm looking for in a lot of places. And the duet style vocals that the XX has always used really do work well with what we have here. Now, what I like about the production on this album is I think it's very simple, but it has enough texture to it and enough nuance to it to where I can enjoy it and find something to like in it. I don't think the beats stand on their own per se, but the instrumentals do set a nice backdrop for these vocals. This album kicks off with the song Dangerous, and the first thing that hits me is this groove that I actually really like. I don't expect a groove like this from these guys, but they do pull off a nice groove. And that's when I knew this album might be a little different than their past work. And I also like these triumphant synths that build up, that give this like upbeat vibe. They're synths or horns. I believe they're synths. They just have that same, like, I don't know how to explain it, but that celebratory vibe to them. And as far as vocal chemistry goes, Oliver Sim and Romy Croft, I might be pronouncing either name wrong, but I'm sorry if I am, but these two artists show so much chemistry on this track with their vocals, and I think this is probably the best showcase of that on this album. They work really well hand in hand, and both vocal performances are very nice. Yes, it's very laid back and breathy, but I think when combined and working together, it's definitely a beautiful thing when it comes together, I guess. Just a good overall vocal performance. Another song I really loved was the track Say Something Loving. I really like the melodic hook on this song. It really stands out. This album has quite a few hooks that really stand out to me, but this one in particular, very memorable, very beautiful at the same time. Personally, I think Croft does a little bit more for me with this vocal performance than Sims does, but that doesn't necessarily mean he was terrible. I just think her voice overall just exploded on that hook. It was absolutely gorgeous and definitely became the focal point of this song for me. This is definitely one of the quieter songs on the album, but I enjoy it. I think the ambient backdrop really does let Croft do her thing, and that's why I was so enthralled by that portion of the song. I think not only does it have very melodic drones, but also the vocal performances once again are very nice. Lots of melody, lots of personality to them. They sound great, and that's one of the things that shocked me about this album. They had enough in terms of sound that distracted me from how quiet it is, and that's what I wanted from Frank Ocean. I wanted him to, really give that passionate vocal performance, really put in that weird instrumental, even if it's all very quiet and laid back, like how he's trying to do, very reserved and understated. That's fine. What I like about this is that they really do have, passion to it, emotion to it. Like, I feel the emotion and passion, even if it's very quiet and understated. I enjoyed the hook on the song Brave For You. I wanted to add that in there. And, the song On Hold is a necessary change of pace for me. And I know it's definitely not the best song on the album. I have a couple complaints with it in terms of just as a standalone song. But I think it gives a nice change of pace with just the energy in the drums. this gives me a breather in the album that allowed me to enjoy it as a whole and allowed me to re-listen to it without getting completely bored of it, and I think it's necessary in that regard. If I had to pick a least favorite song, it would be The Closer, Test Me. And it's just because this song's so understated, so silent, so quiet. And I think they executed the use of silence very tastefully and very well, because I think there is an art to implementing quiet in anything, whether it be a movie or a song or an album or whatever it may be. And I think they do it well, but I don't know if this works as the closer on this album. It doesn't have me leaving the album like, wow, that was, what a finale, what a way to end it. It just sort of, I don't know, I forget it. I had to, when I was re-listening to this album for maybe the 4th or 5th time, I was like, oh yeah, that's one of the songs. I should include that in my notes. It lacked that much in terms of memorability that I couldn't even remember it after that many listens. And I think that's a problem. I'm not saying that it needs to be this loud bash, but maybe something more lavish, more grand, more celebratory. If you wanted to keep that song, put that in the middle of the track listing and bring something else down that would have worked better. And another complaint I do have is I think a couple of the songs lack in comparison to others in the track listing. They aren't necessarily bad songs, but I see a couple songs that sort of are like good, you know, like songs like Lips or but they just didn't compare very well when put up against my highlights from this album. But overall, I like this thing. I like this thing more than I thought I would. I thought this album was going to be okay. Maybe the singles weren't that great. I didn't know what to think of it, but I really enjoyed it. We're starting the year off great with 2 albums that I am enjoying, so that's, you know, a great thing to see. I do recommend checking it out. It is a nice pop project. If you're into pop, if you're into ballads, this one is for you. I would check it out. If you're not, I mean, it's an interesting project, but I don't know if this will change your mind. And if you don't like the XX, I would give a couple of the songs a shot. Just give it a test. If it's still not your thing, then just don't bother. I don't know if you'll like this album. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts on it. I'm going to give this one a 79 out of 100. I do recommend it. So yeah, guys, listener's notes here. Thank you guys for watching. If you want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and like. I will have more good stuff coming out for you very soon. And yeah, so once again, thank you for watching. This is Listener's Notes. I can't wait to review some more music for you guys again real soon.